In the wild world of YouTube boxing, one name consistently stands out: Logan Paul. He's amassed a huge following and garnered attention for his high-profile bouts. But here's the controversial truth. Despite all the hype, Logan Paul's boxing record is glaringly empty, and this emptiness perfectly reflects his technique, fighting IQ, and mentality. Let's break it down and dive into why Logan Paul, the larger-than-life YouTube personality, might just be overrated in the boxing ring. 1. A questionable mentality. Logan Paul's mentality in the boxing ring starkly contrasts with the traditional fighter's mindset. While his younger brother, Jake Paul, exudes an unabashed love for combat and aggression, Logan seems to approach boxing primarily as a lucrative business venture. One cannot help but question Logan's motives in the world of boxing. Unlike fighters who step into the ring to prove their mettle, conquer their fears, or chase glory, Logan often appears motivated by the allure of good business deals. The fights he takes are more about financial gain than a genuine passion for the sport. Take, for instance, his highly publicized bout with KSI. While it was portrayed as a story of former enemies turned friends, it was, in reality, a strategic move to expand his brand and reach a broader audience. The boxing ring for Logan becomes a stage for marketing, an opportunity to extend his reach from the United States to Europe. What distinguishes Logan from many fighters is his lack of inherent aggression. He doesn't enter the ring with a fiery determination to prove himself or to conquer his own fears. Instead, he seems like a savvy businessman who's out to capitalize on the public's fascination with spectacle. Consequently, he often succumbs to the pressures of competitive events because the fighter's mentality isn't deeply ingrained in his nature. This mentality permeates his entire approach to fighting. In his bouts, Logan tends to focus more on defensive maneuvers and counterattacks rather than taking the initiative. He rarely initiates aggressive offensives, and when he does, it's often more about putting on a show for the fans than about inflicting damage on his opponent. This approach might be suitable for the world of professional wrestling, where performers execute techniques flawlessly and engage with the crowd, but it falls short in the unforgiving realm of boxing. Boxing demands more than just performing actions beautifully. It requires a profound understanding of tactics, strategy, and the mental fortitude to endure adversity. This approach might work well in pro wrestling, where it's essential to flawlessly execute techniques and engage with the crowd, but it falls short in the world of boxing. The fight game demands more than just performing actions beautifully. It requires a deep understanding of tactics, strategy, and the mental fortitude to push through adversity. 2. The flaw in his boxing IQ. One of the most glaring issues in Logan Paul's boxing career is his fighting IQ. Or rather, the lack thereof. While he often categorizes himself as a counter-striker, relying on his athleticism and quick reflexes, he fails to grasp the subtleties that define a true counter-punching maestro. At the heart of this issue lies Logan's inability to create and capitalize on traps for his opponents. Unlike seasoned counter-strikers like Conor McGregor, who strategically position themselves to bait specific strikes from their opponents, Logan simply stands still or slightly tilts his body forward, waiting for opportunities to counter-attack. This passive approach hardly creates the openings necessary for effective counter-striking. Moreover, Logan's reluctance to utilize his backhand in fights is baffling. In his second bout against KSI, he threw his backhand only 5 times in 6 rounds, with 2 of those being uppercuts. This voluntary neglect of his most potent weapon handicaps him significantly in exchanges. One wonders why he chooses to ignore such a valuable asset. Logan's stance and positioning often make it easy for opponents to nullify his jab, rendering it ineffective. He doesn't leverage his reach or actively dictate the distance of the fight. He seems content with waiting and attempting to catch opponents on the move, a passive strategy that ultimately renders his jab useless. In the boxing world, fighters often rely on a combination of jabs, feints, and footwork to control the distance and set up their offense. Logan's failure to incorporate these fundamental elements into his fighting style hinders his ability to pressure opponents effectively. Furthermore, Logan's decision to classify himself as a counter-striker is perplexing. Counterpunching involves not just reacting to an opponent's strikes, but also creating openings through feints, traps, and defensive movements. While Logan may possess athleticism and quick reflexes, he fails to demonstrate the level of strategic depth and nuance expected from a counter-striker. In essence, Logan Paul's flawed boxing IQ stems from his inability to fully grasp the intricate chess match that unfolds within the ring. While he may excel in other areas of his life, such as entertainment and marketing, his limited understanding of the sweet science becomes all too apparent when he steps into the boxing ring. His reliance on athleticism and instinct rather than a deep understanding of the sport is a major obstacle to his success as a professional boxer. In fact, Logan's stance and positioning often make it easy for opponents to nullify his jab, rendering it ineffective. He doesn't leverage his reach or actively dictate the distance of the fight. He's content with waiting and attempting to catch opponents on the move, a passive strategy that renders his jab useless. Logan's physical attributes and anthropometry naturally position him to throw powerful combinations, yet he rarely does so. He inexplicably ignores his backhand, opting for single punches or jab-heavy combinations. This reluctance to use his full arsenal hampers his ability to pressure opponents effectively. 3. A troubling, freezing tendency. Logan Paul's boxing journey is marked by moments of surprising potential, often overshadowed by his struggles with movement and ring control. When he does move effectively, he showcases glimpses of what could make him a formidable fighter. Logan's ability to move laterally and pressure opponents with a well-executed jab and double jab is, at times, reminiscent of elite boxers. He demonstrates an understanding of distance management and possesses the athleticism required to keep his opponents at bay. During these moments, Logan appears as if he could be the best YouTube boxer in the world. His movement allows him to control the pace of the fight and dictate the terms of engagement. He understands the logic of covering distance and employs tactics that could potentially make him a formidable opponent. However, this potential is often squandered due to his hesitancy and a lack of consistent ring movement. Instead of maintaining his movement and pressuring opponents, he frequently freezes or retreats to the ropes. This is a puzzling aspect of his fighting style, as it seems to contradict his ability to move effectively when he chooses to do so. One might speculate that fatigue or exhaustion plays a role in his reduced movement, but this issue has persisted throughout his fights, casting doubt on the notion that physical stamina is the sole factor at play. When Logan remains stationary, he becomes vulnerable to opponents who can close the distance and apply pressure. He relies on his athleticism to counterattack, but this approach is far from foolproof. A more nuanced strategy that combines effective movement with counterpunching would better harness his potential. One of the most promising aspects of Logan's fighting style is his clinch work. In close quarters, he has shown the ability to tie up opponents effectively while delivering damaging blows. This is an underutilized weapon in his arsenal, one that could provide him with a significant advantage in fights. The uppercut, in particular, is a potent punch that Logan seems unaware of. His knockout of KSI in their rematch came via a vicious uppercut delivered from within the clinch. If he were to focus on improving his clinch game and incorporating it into his overall strategy, he could become an even more formidable opponent. In the boxing world, experienced fighters exploit these tendencies. They recognize when an opponent is uncomfortable under pressure and capitalize on that weakness. Logan's vulnerability to pressure could have been his downfall, but he was fortunate that his opponents didn't fully exploit this aspect of his game. 4. The difference in movement. Perhaps the most baffling aspect of Logan Paul's boxing career is his inconsistency in movement. When Logan incorporates lateral movement and actively pressures opponents with his jab, he transforms into a different fighter, a formidable one. His movement is crisp, his jab is effective, and he displays a level of boxing skill that leaves spectators in awe. In these moments, he appears to be the best YouTube boxer on the planet. However, the enigma lies in why Logan Paul doesn't maintain this style throughout his fights. Instead, he frequently reverts to a passive stance, standing still or retreating to the ropes, effectively nullifying. Share your thoughts on Logan Paul's boxing journey, engage in debates, and discover more about the diverse aspects of the fight game. Hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to stay updated. Don't miss our upcoming content where we delve into the multifaceted world of combat sports. Let's dissect, debate, and explore the fascinating realm of boxing together. Until next time, keep exploring, keep debating, and keep embracing the beauty and complexity of the fight game.